It's kind of sad that Rings of Power Season 2 is over. I haven't had the opportunity to laugh that much at something that expensive in a long time. But hey, there's going to be good news soon when Season 3, even though the series has been contractually locked in for 5 seasons for, a while now, but there's going to be an announcement of a Season 3, right? It'll be right around the corner, right around the corner. I mean, 2 years' time, where they can, I don't know, pick up where they left off at the conclusion of Season 2 in a dwelling down by the river, and that Gandalf can go ahead and really stick it to that very sour man. Jesus, what a trash fire. This is the dumbest show that I think I've ever seen. It betrays. I don't have the biggest Tolkien knowledge base. I've expressed my love for PJ's trilogy. Everything that I've heard about the first and second age on top of the third, sounds super cool, especially the first age. Like, if we were living in a different time, I would love to see that adapted. Oh my god, all the wars against Morgoth? That'd be cool as hell. But we don't live in a world where things could, should, and would be. We gotta live in the world as it is, and as it sits right now, we got this shoddy adaptation of the second age by a bunch of children spending Daddy Bezos's bucks at a rate that is just unsustainable by any other studio. Season 3 would not be advised if this was under anybody else's banner, but this is the richest company, $1 trillion company. $1 billion to them, that's simply a drop in the bucket. They have multiple billions of dollars, so they can go ahead with this vanity project to try to get any sort of legitimacy in Hollywood, but something this bad, like, it doesn't fail the test because it's a poor adaptation of Tolkien's work. It's just a bad, stupid show that makes no sense at all whatsoever. And it's something, like I said, this would not be advised by any other studio if it wasn't backed by Amazon bucks, because nobody's watching this shit. Okay, these Samba TV ratings, right? So you got Penguin up there at the top, and then you got a whole host of Netflix properties. You don't have any Agatha all along, but at this point in time, what is it? I think by the time that you guys see this video, the 5th episode is out. Nobody's watching this shit. Like, barely anybody's reviewing it, which kind of lets you know there's nothing. There's nothing going on with that show. And yeah, Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, in 9th place. Next time we get an update on this, and I'm sure I'll talk about it or at least reference it, that'll be for the finale or for the big battle episode, which is one of the dumbest things that I've seen ever. On top of this being the dumbest show, the dumbest season ever, episode 7 of season 2 is an affront to common sense. You have to be a special type of stupid to script, shoot, and act in that abomination. But there are plenty of expert reviews. You would like a more in-depth analysis as to why on God's green earth the orcs are such expert engineers where they can get trebuchets powerful enough to launch their payload miles away into a mountain, miles up, to break off a perfect segment of the cliff face to immediately dam a river, but not have the ability to break through the newly created walls of Aragian. I would recommend Shad, Night's Watch, and then EFAP's breakdowns were tremendous. But just like the Joker, let's get into some of the post-mortem here, because we have some people that are just working on this project that are just so incredibly stupid. Mostly the showrunners, but everybody that's involved with this. If you're not leaving this sinking ship, your IQ is actively diminishing. I not even want to say that. The Rings of Power, showrunner, claimed Season 2 was reviewed by Tolkien Estate to assure, the story adheres to the legendarium. I gotta press X to doubt on that. Or maybe it was for Simon Tolkien, which, guess this, it kind of leads credence to, because, okay, the big bad. I got one of the big bads, it's not Sauron, Anatar, Five-Headatar, what have you, was, Adar, the father of the orcs. Ugh. But he was, according to the showrunners, supposed to be killed off way earlier. Not too sure how much earlier, but he was one of the major characters. I think because there were 2 major characters that were very much alive, very much had stuff to do going into the second season. One, she just, I'm going to go draw bullseyes on burqas over in Iran. It's like, okay, cool, very fantastic. And she wouldn't return, to acting in any form or fashion unless it was a really important project. And then a month later, just happened to find that one magical project, didn't even go over to Iran, but she wants to claim all of those, good virtue signaling points. Good for her. And, the character of Bronwyn would be sorely missed. So much so that, Don Lemonless, her lover and Theo's surrogate father, he's not an elf stepdad, he's the elf dad who stepped up. Ugh. But he was basically an aimless asshole just bouncing around from storyline to storyline, eventually finding his way to Eregion so he could do the Avengers Assemble shot at the end of the show. Cool, man. He's going to be so important to the Second Age. He's such an important character that Tolkien just managed to forget about his inclusion time and time again, unless they're going to make him take all of Celeborn's glory, but that's to decide, and that's to decipher a couple years from now. But going back to Adar there for a second, yeah, because he was played by the guy who played Benjen Stark in the first and, 6th and 7th seasons of Game of Thrones. He did a damn good job, but then when, season 2 came around, he was recast, and everybody was just simply giving Benjen credit. I forget the guy's name. Okay, nothing against him. You just don't know his name. Everybody was saying, oh, thank God you decided to leave that sinking ship. Good for you. Shout out to your agent for getting you out of that travesty of a show. But I'm thinking that the character of Adar was only supposed to be around for a large portion of season 1, potentially get yeeted. Mount Doom was turned on, activated because Old Man Waldrag decided to turn a key. The origin story of Mordor, still not any less stupid 2 years on. But anywho, and that's why they had to recast Adar, because perhaps they wanted to get Benjen Stark back, but maybe he was working on another project because he thought that, his character was all done and dusted. Maybe he'd get taken care of between seasons like Bronwyn, so that you could have had a proper sack of Eregion. Therefore, at the 11th hour, he had to bring in a new actor who actually did a pretty decent job. And that's why his overarching story in season 2 makes no goddamn sense at all. But here I am doing more theory crafting than the showrunners are, because they're out here just blatantly making up lies that make zero sense if you know even just a fraction of the things that went on this season. Rings of Power showrunner J.D. Payne recently claimed that the show's second season was reviewed by the Tolkien estate and the team of Tolkien scholars to assure the story adheres to the legendarium. Oh, it's probably that stupid Tolkien professor that said, disregarding several letters that Tolkien wrote, there actually is no canon. There's no canon in Tolkien's work. Don't worry about it. A post to the official Amazon MGM Studios account on X states, source to screen. Showrunner J.D. Payne revealed the season overview that was reviewed by the Tolkien estate and the team of Tolkien scholars to assure the story adheres to the legendarium. Yeah, that's cool. It's a bold-faced lie on a number of levels. Yeah, exactly. Clearly, the show does not adhere to the legendarium in any regards, whether it be story, characters, or even locations. Yeah, exactly. Isildur should not be alive, neither should Elendil. A lot of the characters aren't canonically accurate, if you know what I mean. In the Sack Siege, the battle for Eregion didn't play out like that at all whatsoever. Adar is completely and totally made up. But hey, Tolkien, his bastard offspring, yeah, they gave it the old thumbs up because Amazon wrote a check with enough zeros for them to sell out the legacy of their grandfather and great-grandfather. But if you have the audacity to say that, oh, don't worry, season 2 is, it's canonically accurate, okay? It adheres to the lore. It's in the spirit of Tolkien. How do you unironically affix a ham-fisted allegory to the work of somebody who legendarily hated allegories? Like, what are we doing? Lord of the Rings of Power showrunner compares destruction of Khazad-dûm to climate change. Yeah. Anyways, in an interview with The Hollywood Reporter following the conclusion of the show's second season, McKay was asked by James Hibbard over in Khazad-dûm, I always had the impression that once the Balrog was released. Again, that's just another stupid development that never should have happened, but it's lore accurate. I wreaked havoc and drove everyone out of the mines immediately, but not this guy. He just showed up, yeeted during the third, and now he's just going to go back to sleep. Don't worry about it, because there's going to be a big battle for the throne in the season 3. But in your story, there's more of a gradual corruption process. By who? He put on the ring and became a greedy retard in an afternoon. Like, what are we doing? Oh, it's a more gradual process. Shut up. Unless you're trying to tell us that the time scale of this abomination is even more borked than we realize. The city is still occupied, and they're still going to be fighting for it going into season 3. McKay responded, this is a thing where, how do societies fall? Usually it's gradual, and then all at once. If you want to use climate change as a metaphor, no, just do societies. Just use a Roman Empire allegory, you dolt. Climate change is not an event. What? Well, what is it? Because nobody can really nail it down. Let alone would I think a bunch of double-digit IQ Mormons be able to figure it out. Anyways, climate change is a process that ebbs and flows. That's always headed in a dark direction. Right. I think a kingdom as great and powerful as Khazad-dûm does not fall in a moment. Well, I'm glad you think that. You're only the, let me check, showrunner. Glad you think that. McKay concluded the fall is the product of many disasters over time, and I think it would sell Khazad-dûm's story short for the Balrog to get out there and it's all over. It's more complicated. He's a corrupted Maiar. Jesus Christ. If he wanted to collapse Khazad-dûm in an afternoon, for there to be story developments in that dwarf storyline that would actually be believable to take place in a short period of time, the Balrog wreaking havoc and closing the mines of Moria, that is 1,000% more believable than an overly cautious king getting a ring, putting it on, and then later enacting a 100% tax on all of his goods and services in his empire. It's so fucking dumb. This show, man. Wait. There's more. Lord of the Rings of Power. Director. One of these bitches that did a lion's share of the directing this season. Galadriel was obviously in love with Halbrand. Who wasn't in love with each other in this show? Because you had what? Galadriel. You had the ship between Galadriel and Halbrand. Galadriel and Sauron. You had Sauron and Celebrimbor, which I think it was Variety that tried to point that out. Oh, there's so many revelations in the season 2 finale, including, is Sauron Celebrimbor's lover? You should all be taken out behind the shed and thrown off an Eregian cliff. Don't worry, they're non-lethal. Galadriel survived them. Oh, and if she doesn't fancy herself a little bit of dark meat, she could also go with Elrond, who she also lovingly made out with in episode 7. It's also bad. But here it is, straight from the horse's ass. Rings of Power director Charlotte Brandstrom. Who was that said, women don't contribute anything when it comes to writing fantasy and should be removed from writers' rooms? Who is it that said that? I can't quite remember. Claims that Galadriel was in love with Halbrand. God, this is the second age, huh? It really adheres to the canon, right? In an interview with the Nerdist following the conclusion, yes, okay, Brandstrom was asked, seeing Halbrand really affected Galadriel. Yeah, when Sauron was shapeshifting in front of Galadriel and she had multiple opportunities to kill Sauron, she decided to swoon over a guy who had a big bushy brunette wig on and no 5 o'clock shadow, but that looks exactly like Halbrand. It's just as stupid. It's just as stupid as this guy putting on a blonde wig and everybody going, oh my god, who are you? Fucking dumb show, man. But yeah, were there feelings for him from Galadriel, who was very affected by seeing, Sauron? Yeah, obviously, Galadriel was in love with Halbrand. I beg your pardon? She was very attracted to him, so when Sauron changes shape, Sauron knows this because he gets into her head. And yeah, if he wanted to make sure that Galadriel wouldn't be an issue moving forward, if he can get into her head, because we also seen his powers play out the way that they did in episode 7, where he could just mind control Celebrimbor, or 7 palace guards to yeet themselves. If he's that entrenched in her head, why isn't he taking her out? So he knows what she's thinking, what she's feeling. So when he immediately takes Halbrand's shape, sort of, he completely destabilizes her because that was her weakness. Oh yeah, she had very strong feelings for the king, for Halbrand, obviously, in the first season. Yeah, when they autistically screeched at each other on that very beautiful raft ride. Oh... As for what Sauron thought, okay, cool. Brandstrom shared her thoughts after being asked what bonded characters reunite after separation. It's always intense. This is the Lord of the Rings, guys. It's supposed to be the work of Tolkien being adapted here. So what do a bunch of perverted characters want to do with each other's buttholes? Like, what are we doing here? Doubly so if it's Galadriel and Sauron, right? The Virgin Mary lusting after Satan. Can you talk a bit about crafting their sword fight reunion? Oh my god, yeah, where Sauron parries with a crown. Anyways, yeah, these are 2 very magnificent actors. Where were they? Because they weren't on screen. And also 2 extremely strong and magical characters in Middle-earth that never should have interacted. And they were also the most powerful people there. Really, the proper, the High King Gil-galad or Celeborn. But hey, don't worry about it. The most powerful people there, because that's what we say. So the fact that the 2 of them were fighting against each other, I wanted it to be very epic. Spoilers, it wasn't. And when Sauron realized that he's not going to win, he asks for the ring, and then she stupidly takes it off to taunt him, and then Wile E. Coyote's off a cliff. super cool. And he becomes Halbrand for a while because he knew the feelings Galadriel had for him. That was just, like, bro, that was just not in the show. I don't know what to tell you. You're just making up fanfic, which is exactly what this show is. Terrible, awful fanfic. Look at that. Just the gaze into the eyes of two lovers standing over the ruins of the greatest elven city in existence in all of Middle-earth's history. Just pure love on display right there. This show has become such a laughingstock, like it was an insult with season 1. Okay, like that was just a perversion. People were thinking, hey, it could be good, and then we seen what was happening, and then, oh yeah, no, this is going to be trash. And then by the conclusion of season 2, especially with episodes 7 and 8, everybody just started to laugh and mock this. Like, this is a dumpster fire. It has nothing to do with Lord of the Rings. It is barely, outside of a couple of recognizable names, it has nothing to do with Tolkien. So yeah, Amazon, continue to spend money like a drunken sailor, like a drunken Númenorian that's going to bring in Sauron so that you can speedrun the fall of Númenor in season 3. That'll be fantastic. No. You continue to do that. Because the world needs a laugh. With so much shit that's out there, please, for the love of God, see the rest of the series through. Your contractual obligations with season 3, 4, and 5. Do it. Do it, cowards, because I want to see how absolutely dumb this can get. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.